to you and you talk about Westminster, or should I talk about the COVID stuff first?
I think I would talk about the COVID stuff, and I kind of have some notes. I was going to just talk about spring response, summer, fall, kind of that category. I think we'll be fine.
Right. Excellent. Thanks. So I did hit the broadcast, so it shows that we are live on YouTube. I'm just double checking that we are in fact live on Facebook as well. And have it give a second so I can see some of our followers hop on here. For anyone that hears us and sees us fine, give me a thumbs up. Give us a like. Let us know that you're tuning in. I see a couple. It looks like Brian Dice, our board chair, and Councilor Bowles, Councilor Scully. Hello to you both. Thank you so much for hopping on to our broadcast. I will go ahead and get us kicked off. I know I'm a couple of minutes behind on this. I was just rambling on to our experts, so I want to dive into the content. But for any of you that are hopping on and it's your first time with us, please like the page and follow us. If you only like and you don't follow, you won't get those timely alerts and things. I know it's some sort of analytics and stuff with Facebook. So make sure you like and follow the page, but also find us on other platforms. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter and Instagram. All of our different platforms share different types of content and information that is relevant for you to know. So I wanted to go ahead and introduce the topic that we have. As you all are aware, we do these videos daily. When we've hosted these videos in the past, it's really helped businesses adapt to the current situation that we're in. Then it was to help with the rephase process. And now we're starting to introduce really the Open for Business Success series, along with some tips for you all to understand. We're still maintaining our structure of Mondays with the mayor and Fridays generally with our electeds. Today is a little bit of an anomaly, but I wanted to make sure that we highlight one of our higher education institutions that services the Westminster community. So I'm going to be displaying comments. We like kudos, we like shout outs and things like that, but more importantly, we like to hear questions that you might have. So as you're hearing some of the information that's shared from both of our speakers today, if you have questions or comments, type them in. We'll display them on the screen and we'll try and recognize you for those. Again, thank you for the good morning message, Wayne, and also the good morning message from you, Brian Dyson, as well. So I have with me two experts, and both of them are in the administration for Front Range Community College. Andy Dorsey is the president of Front Range Community College, and Kathy is the vice president as well. I've had the pleasure of working with them. Can you believe it's been 3.5 years now?
Wow.
Like 3.5 years. Time flies by like no other, but it has been a wonderful experience. So I'm excited to hear more about, what has Front Range done during this time? How have you shifted, looking ahead, what the future might hold, and then we'll parlay into those questions and comments that we might have. At this point, I'll turn it over to Andy. I'll mute myself and have you get started, Andy, and then we'll hear a little bit from Kathy and take up questions at the end.
Thank you, Juliet. Good morning, everybody. And I'm joined by Kathy Pellish, who is the Vice President of the Westminster campus. Just for a little bit of background, Front Range is the largest community college in Colorado. We have the campus in Westminster, one in Longmont, and one in Fort Collins, and a center in Brighton. And we serve about 28,000 students a year, which often blows people away. So we touch a lot of different lives, probably 10,000 lives a year in the area around the Westminster campus. This has been really one of the more challenging years. I've been president of the college for 11 years now, and nothing quite like this has ever happened. We closed pretty suddenly, like many businesses and organizations did in March. In summer, we transitioned all of our courses to online. And we were fortunate in that Front Range has been doing online classes since about 1994. So we've got some of the best experience in online of any higher education institution in the state. And while our transitions weren't perfect, we had a lot of faculty who knew what they were doing, who could help their peers and get ready to transition to remote courses. And same in summer, we've invested a lot in training. We trained over 100 new faculty. Our experienced faculty really dug in, and we're training more faculty for fall. As we've been looking at fall, we've been trying to figure out what the right thing to do is. And every indication is that as we would reopen in fall, we would need to have 6-foot social distancing between students and classes and figure out how to make that work. So our basic strategy in fall is going to be to use our campuses for the classes that need campus most, whether that's science lab or art studio classes or our technical programs, everything from nursing to automotive. Those programs will have classes on campus. most of our general ed courses, things like English and psychology, will largely be done remotely, some through video conferencing like this, some through traditional online means like any online course. That's a pretty big change for us. We know it's not what every student wants, but we surveyed all of our students. We got over 2,500 responses. We found in general they were pretty comfortable with that kind of modality. We hope that's just for fall. We very much would like to be back fully on campus in spring. We serve a lot of students on campus, and we know for a lot of students the campus experience is really a good one for them. But we also know that we actually have a pretty good skill level at helping students learn online, and we're ready to do that. Our campuses have been closed for a while. They'll reopen on July 6th. We'll have advising and financial aid and other services available on campus for students then. Right now, we're asking anybody who comes on campus to wear a mask, and we'll monitor all the health requirements going forward and figure out what's the right thing to do to keep students safe. I think Kathy will talk a little bit more about some of the specific things that are happening at the Westminster campus, but I just did want to give a couple notes. One of the things that Front Range does is we are the local sponsor for the Colorado First and Existing Industry Grant. Some of you on the line may take advantage of that. That program lost some money this year. It went from $4.5 million to $3.5 million, but that's still a substantial amount of grants, and Front Range typically gives out about a third of the grants in the state. So that's still happening. And if you know somebody, a business that's opening or expanding and wants training dollars, Colorado First and Existing Industry is still happening. Claudio Asalo is our representative for this area and can definitely reach out. You can contact me or Juliet, and we can make sure to get you in touch with the folks who can help you with one of those grant applications. And we continue to do corporate training. We've done quite a bit of that since the pandemic started. Surprisingly, many companies are still interested in doing some kinds of training. And we found actually that for our skilled trades, there's still quite a bit of job market. Folks have lost a lot of jobs in retail, and it's been really, for many of our students who work service level jobs, it's been a very, very difficult time. But we've also found that as people up their skills, there's still been demand for skilled workers. So our trades programs are going strong. Some of them are in the Westminster campus, some of them are in Longmont, where we have a center for manufacturing. And we anticipate that students who enter those programs will still have great demands. Finally, I hope Kathy will talk a little bit about our apprenticeship efforts. We've really expanded our apprenticeship programs, and that's one of our focuses for the next year. There are statewide grants for apprenticeships for healthcare and for IT. If you're a company of less than 50 people in either of those industries, there's possibility to get wage support for apprentices. So you could bring an apprentice on and have a federal grant support some of the wages for that apprentice while they're learning. We found a lot of companies have started to understand that that's a great way to bring somebody on, help get them fit into your company early on, and give them the training that you want, so that they're ready for the job that you want them to have. So that's really another one of our focuses. We've done a lot of work in customizing apprenticeships for companies, and we look forward to doing more of that in the future. I would say one last focus for us, and the last few weeks have been certainly a trying time, because on top of the pandemic, you've had all of the reaction to George Floyd, and really a lot of focus on some of the injustice that some people in our community have felt. The Front Range Westminster campus is about 40% students of color. One of the things that we're really focusing on is how do we make sure that our campuses across our college are welcoming to a diverse set of students. And if there's anything that's happened in the last couple of weeks, it's caused us to really look inward and redouble our efforts to make sure that we're the kind of college that welcomes people of a variety of backgrounds, that helps them feel comfortable and helps them succeed in education. That's part of our commitment for the next year, is to really examine all of our practices and make sure that we're doing the right thing for all of our students. So I'm going to stop right there and leave it to Kathy to pick up on some of the details of what's happening on campus, but I'll be delighted to answer any questions.
Thanks, Andy. And that's actually a great segue, because I wanted to start by really recognizing our students. And I think what we saw through spring was incredible resilience by our students. And our students they're our community members. And I really want to just make sure you hear that. because they also had to flex. We had great staff, faculty, employees really pivot in March to help students complete. But what we also heard from students and saw from their actions was their desire to not let this change their timeline. They were very adaptable. And the school also really responded. Our foundation very quickly put together funds. So we were able to get laptops out to many, many, many of our spring students, because all of a sudden they had to go online and we didn't know what their resources were at home. And as we learned, they were often sharing the family computer with the siblings and mom and dad who are now home at remote. So I'm really proud of what our foundation did and staff and what the institution did to get laptops and support in the hands of our students. And then I think we also saw that as we, as Andy said, we were paying attention to all the guidelines, which were shifting, right? So one day we would be running down one road and we would have to turn a little bit and do another road. But some really good accomplishments were the way our faculty and our students completed those spring courses, especially in our medical programs. We had them finish out in May when the whole place was shut down, but under safe circumstances. We had medical assisting finish out, phlebotomy finish out, our nursing students graduated. So those are really big accomplishments in the midst of all that change. And as Andy said, those are apprenticeships. We are in a very strong apprenticeship relationship with Centura Health for some medical programs, and we were able to work with them and the students and the faculty to help them finish out. So those are some good accomplishments from spring. I think where we also learned a lot of lessons about how to help our employees work remote and help our students continue in their education. And we saw that with our summer enrollment. As Andy said, we went primarily online. We'll be opening the campus up limited use in just a week, I guess, July 6th, when we bring a few of our hands-on classes back to campus. So again, we've got some auto coming back and some of our medical programs, and then moving into planning for fall. The other thing that's going on that the college is a part of this in response to the pandemic is being very involved in some of the Adams County response and recovery teams. So I'm sitting on one where the focus is now really about it's kind of split. It was really responding to unemployment, so a very strong connection with the workforce board, but also looking at the future of work and how we elevate the community, provide opportunities for the community with the right training, with connections to employers, with helping people get back to work. And I also have a couple other people sitting on some other response and recovery teams. Angela Atkinson, I think many of you know, because the college hosts the Small Business Development Corporation, and she's working on the business recovery response team. And many of you may be involved as well. So I think that's worth noting in terms of that community involvement to help all of us kind of respond and recover. And then another area where we've been connected this summer is with our school districts. Many of you may or may not know that we do a huge amount of concurrent enrollment. So we partner with all of the neighboring school districts, including Adams 12, Westminster Public Schools, Mapleton, 27J, in providing concurrent enrollment both on our campus for students who are currently in high school. They can take classes on our campus and out in the high schools. And we've seen tremendous growth over the past couple of years, and surprisingly, none of the school districts are calling us now saying slow it down. So we are still planning for a pretty full partnership with concurrent enrollment in those school districts. It's going to look different. We are really taking our lead from the school districts, depending on how they will open up and structure, and we'll follow their lead for how we continue to provide that education to students while they're in high school.
Could I interject one thing? We calculated the other day that our estimate is across Front Range, we saved parents of high school students about $15 million last year in college tuition because of concurrent enrollment. So concurrent enrollment is free to students.
Yep.
And if you know somebody who has a student who's interested, tell them to contact their school district about concurrent enrollment because it's a great option. Excuse me.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at some of my other things. I was talking to Juliet about this right before we started, but I think something we have in common with all the businesses is how we look at what we've learned through this experience in how we move forward doing business. We've learned a lot about employees' ability to go remote. We've learned what the institution needs to do to support that. We are really looking at what is essential to reopen back on campus, and a big part of that is where we lead with what will the students need. So as we're looking at a limited campus level of traffic for our courses in the fall, we're also looking at continuing to provide those support services that our students need. And sometimes that's face-to-face advising, sometimes that's access to computers and internet. We're really leading with how to kind of take the cards we've been dealt and provide the best situation for students to continue on their education and succeed. We have really talented faculty who are stepping up to the challenges of delivering a course they're experienced in and very adept at in front of the classroom, and probably turning that into this type of teaching. So hosting WebEx is our platform, or Microsoft Teams or Zoom, whatever your utility is, but teaching through this technology so that we can keep education going under those situations. So a student who can't come to class, or where we have to keep the social distancing in place, we are going to have a lot of means in place for people to continue. I'm going to pause there and see what maybe questions we've sparked or comments we've sparked.
Yeah, no, I thought that was some really great content that both of you have provided. For those of you that have just hopped on, we have with us Angie Dorsey and Kathy Pellish. Both are here representing Front Range Community College as president and vice president, in that order. But they have touched on, what has the campus experienced in the spring, predictions for the summer as far as the online enrollments and usage of those virtual classrooms, and then the likelihood that in the fall, there is that limited opening up of the campus for campus needed or specific type of courses, with the rest being more virtual. If you have questions and you've just hopped on, please be sure that you type it into the comment section of this broadcast. We have a few just comments that I wanted to pull up. I know State Representative Tracy Kraft-Tharp is up here with us. Thank you so much for hopping on, tuning in. Peter Brissett and Ann Hogan. I know both of you referenced trainings for our businesses through apprenticeship programs and then through partnerships with the SBDC. We did have Angela with us a couple of days ago on this broadcast, so it was our way of being able to promote you all coming up on Friday. So for those of you that were not able to tune in to what the SBDC is doing, those videos are still available to you on the video section of our page. Quick kudos was from Peter, and that was that Kathy is his favorite. So I'm sure there are others that are on here that love you as well, Andy. We'll see if they come through on giving you some flattery as well. And then it looks like this comment that we have is from Wayne. Wayne is sharing, he applauds you all for your hard work and your team has done in this complex environment to ensure your students can achieve their goals. So I am going to tack on a question to this. I know you have surveyed your students, and the survey responses came back, and they were very receptive to the virtual programmings or virtual types of classes that you'll now be offering. How has student mental health looked like for you? Has that come up as a significant issue around your student body? Have you been able to service that, or how would you frame this type of answer for us?
So I'll speak for the campus. Mental health of anyone is of huge importance, and for a long time, the campus and the college, we have employed mental health professionals. At the Westminster campus, we contract with Community Reach, and we have a really good relationship with them, having 2 full-time counselors on site on the campus all the time. So during the shutdown, there was a brief time when we had to kind of figure out how to do that remotely, but we continue our partnership with them. In addition, our students have a lot of other needs as well. They have food insecurity needs, they have housing needs, they have a lot of financial strain, all of that combining, I think, to put mental stresses on any individual. So we've been attuned to that, really attempting to keep our food pantries open somewhat. And I think those are going to be targets we set for fall, how we continue to meet those, what I always call the outside the classroom needs of students, because those have to be met so that they can continue succeeding in school. So we have some structure set up. We will continue to look at how those pivot to serve our students under these new circumstances. And I think too, through our connections in the community, we have good solid connections to community partners to help us do that.
You know, I just add that one of the things that working in a community college does is remind you about the economic needs of the community. And when we started food pantries several years ago, I don't think we understood how many of our students needed food support. And the same when we brought in Community Reach, I don't think we understood how many of our students needed mental health support. Those folks are full all the time and they do yeoman's work, and the food pantry is heavily, heavily visited. In fact, one of our most difficult things was figuring out that we had to shut down the food pantry because we just didn't have a way to run it while the campus was closed. We've been actively finding ways to provide emergency financial assistance to students. Kathy mentioned we provided a lot of college money to students. Our foundation has raised almost $200,000 in emergency grant money for students. And I'll put in a shameless plug if anybody wants to donate to that fund. You can find our foundation on our webpage. But we've given out money to students to buy technology. We've given out money to students for rent, for food. You can imagine students come to community college, about 80 to 90% of them work, and they largely work at the kind of jobs that disappear. Yeah. They work in retail, they work in food service. And so many of them were counting on that to continue their education. And while we've been able to provide them a lot of aid, they still are sometimes struggling. For many of them, this is the logical time for them to come back to higher ed. When the job market's not great, it's a great time to invest in yourself, a great time to upskill. But a lot of them are struggling. And so that's really one of both of our commitments and our challenges, is try to figure out how do we support students so they can be successful. It's not a stretch to say it's difficult to be successful in school if you're thinking mostly about where you're going to get food. One of the ways we knew we needed food pantries is faculty started saying, when I put food out in the classroom or we have a potluck, there's a few students who eat everything they possibly can. And when they started talking to the students, it was like, yeah, I haven't eaten since yesterday at lunch and I'm really hungry. And that's just reminded us about the number of people in our community that we continue to need to look out for.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that story too. We don't necessarily see that side of, everything that your organization does outside of just instruction. And so to be able to see the holistic support that you're providing to the students in the community at large, I think personalizes and really shows the difference between one institution and another. Tina's on here with us, and she just enrolled in a remote class with you all. She loves FRCC. And she also thanks you because apparently what you all did was not just reach out to your existing students, but past students that you've had as well, asked how they were doing, if they were struggling. And so she appreciated that. And as a result, re-enrolled in some remote courses.
Wonderful.
That's really great for you to know that that was an effective strategy for sure. Wayne did throw you, so kudos, Andy. I told you there's at least one other viewer on here that felt a similar sentiment to you as well. So this is blocking you off. I know Andy will pull it off after I rephrase it. This does come from Counselor Voelz, and he shares, thank you all for being here with us this morning and the leadership in the community. During the time of COVID, the City of Westminster has formed strong partnerships with the Westminster Chamber, nonprofits, Adams, and Jefferson County. Do you have any thoughts on future partnership between the city and FRCC? And I think this really captures earlier on, for those of you that were with us, Kathy shared, a number of working groups that one of our counties, Adams County, which Front Range Community College is situated on Adams County. They had a variety of working groups that they really incorporated a lot of key partners. So the business community has been a part of it, our higher eds, our electeds, and several other officials in different layers. We've all been working as collaboratively as possible, and along the way have found what areas make sense for us to continue to partner. So this is a terrific question. Counselor Voelz is asking from the lens of the city working directly with FRCC. And I'll add to that, Counselor, and say, how can we as a chamber also plug in and support you all on future partnerships? And then I'm going to pull this off just so we can see your smiling face, Andy, as well.
Well, I'm sure you're aware of the relationship with the College Hill Library, and that has been just a great way to see where our organizations might connect on different activities. And we're been really, we work very collaboratively together as the library, the public library opened up curbside service and making sure our building was in the right shape to do that and for staff to come back. So that's a small piece, and that's a partnership that's been in place for a long time. I actually met with two City of Westminster event planners this week because they're going to host, or you're going to host, Westminster is going to host a drive-in theater in the college parking lot, one in July and one in August. So these aren't so much COVID related, but I think they're really good places to connect and to, we have shared hopes for the community. We just have maybe different ways to work towards those and different ways to put in support. So those are ways. I also feel that there is a connection, kind of going off what we were talking about with some of the other needs of students, whether it's childcare or food or some of those supports. I think there are other ways that the college is very open to partnering with community organizations and cities to really work together to achieve those. And that's really why the partnership in some of these groups, most notably recently these response and recovery teams sponsored by the county, are really important because I think sometimes we all work in our own lanes, but often towards goals that are connected. And the more we can align how we work and how we connect, the better. Because I probably can't see the campus ever becoming a food pantry, a full food pantry. But we can meet needs and then support our students to get to community needs or city needs, or get to community organizations or city supports. So those are just a couple examples. We're very open to that. And that's why we are involved in a lot of these community groups, from chambers to things like ACEC, which is the Adams County Education Consortium, to our connections with the school districts and the cities to see where those might go.
I get that, I think probably our folks in our corporate solutions department are partnering with your economic development group, but we could probably do more there, as well as our small business center. I think those are two natural places to partner. We've got a horticulture program. I think, those folks could partner with the parks department. In fact, they probably do. They partner with more people than I know about. So I think there's a lot of ways that our individual programs can also partner with the city, and we would very much be open to that. I'd also just say, and I mentioned this before, one of the things we're really trying to do is connect with our community and make sure that, Latinx folks in the area around the campus do not go to college at the same rate that white people do, and they don't succeed at quite the same rates. And one of our goals is to change both of those. And so to the city's partnering with some of those communities, we would love to be involved in that conversation. The long-term future of Colorado is based on having an educated population in all of our demographic groups, and that's part of our mission.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's very accurate. And one of the comments that you all made earlier on was the concurrent enrollment and the savings of over $15 million to those parents. And it does really go back to the education. How can we continue to have those partnerships and spread the word out to all members of the community so they know they have the equal access to that and can further their education? And then that really does contribute to where they are long-term in life. Michelle Haney, quick shout out to you. Thank you for sitting in with us. And Lauren Seymour as well. Thank you both for hopping on. This question comes to us from Brian Dice. Again, I'll display and then I'll pull it off so we can see Andy and hear from him as well. To dovetail on John's comment and question, Westminster Chamber collaborated in the past to offer scholarship opportunities to growing home recipients, assisting them to attend Front Range Community College. So it has been in the past a program that we offered. It was in partnership with FRCC's foundation to be able to allow for scholarships for qualified recipients that have gone through Growing Homes, which is our nonprofit here in the community. Do you see these types of initiatives as beneficial, or what other ways would be beneficial for us to collaborate with the college at this present sense? And I know we touched a little bit on the social element. I think the diversity piece is huge, especially since I know that there is some other work in progress that we have on that front. So I'd love to tap you in on that. But more importantly, to answer Brian's question, is there something in specific that we can do, whether it's along the same lines of those scholarships? I know there's the disaster fund that's still accepting dollars and things like that, but specific to the college, how can we help?
I'll throw on a couple things and try to get some ideas. First of all, I'll just say that scholarships are really important. One of the things we learn from students is that they have a double impact on students. The financial impact is obviously a big deal. But the other thing that students tell us again and again is when they get a scholarship, they think somebody cares about me and my future. And that's tremendously motivating. So there's a lot of ways you can invest in scholarships. We have a number of named scholarships where individuals name a scholarship after somebody important to them or their family. Scholarships through the chamber are great. I think working with Growing Homes is an awesome idea because those are students who clearly can use the support. I think there's some opportunities for chamber businesses to explore partnerships with individual programs. You know, if you work in an automotive field, you can explore a partnership with our auto program. And we're really expanding our apprenticeship programs. We're doing an apprenticeship program with the tree care industry to train the folks who are actually doing the arborist work, because there's not really a typical college training program, but we developed our own program for that group. So there's some opportunities to develop specialized training that might benefit you. And then you can also volunteer. We have a career services department to be a mentor for students, to do some job shadowing, ways to connect with students. And sometimes those connections actually wind up in ways that you can identify somebody who might be a good fit for your business. Kathy?
Yeah, I would add, I agree with that. Scholarships are huge. And the part Andy mentioned about students recognizing that someone cares. I've also seen that at some of our foundation luncheons where some of the scholar donors come, and that makes a big impact. And I think the impact goes both ways, because when you meet these students and see where they're at, that's also very, it gives life to the contribution. So those are really good, and I don't want to neglect the impact of those in-person connections. And the other area would be to serve on some of our advisory boards. All of our career tech ed programs have advisory boards, and they are key to helping us stay current. We have to hear what's happening in those fields, what is the training needed, how are our students doing. So really sharing your knowledge and your experience through an advisory board would be tremendous. And you know, if you want more information, we have a ton of programs, like Andy mentioned, horticulture and auto, whole slew of medical programs, a nice set of computer science programs where we would welcome expertise and your place at the table to really provide input there.
I know we're running out of time, so Juliet, can I just give a couple shout outs real quick? I just recognize Wayne Anderson, who is a member of the Advisory Council for Front Range. We have an advisory council that advises me and my vice presidents on how to best serve the community. So Wayne's been on that for a number of years. Thank you, Wayne. He was also a part-time instructor at Front Range. Counselor Catherine Scully is a member of our staff. One of the amazing things she's done is set up our prior learning assessment program where students can get credit for prior work experience. That's one of the things that folks don't know about. So if you're in contact with somebody who might be a student, there's options for them to get credit in a variety of different programs, or they can even get credit if they've mastered English or math or science, something like that. And then a shout out to Michelle Haney, who is, as many of you know, the president of Red Rocks, and who also worked at the Westminster campus of Front Range for many years.
We've got a lot of community supporters for sure, and I think that really ties back into your name as a community college, really embedded with members of the community that are willing to invest back and make sure that we grow and we thrive. So thank you so much for those shout outs and for eloquently transitioning. We are at our 30-minute mark, and I promised both of our speakers that I would not go over that 35-minute threshold. So for those of you that end up watching this video on replay, give us that hashtag replay. If you think of a comment or question during the broadcast replay, or if you were one that did tune in and didn't get a chance to answer a question because you were kind of hesitant to, still comment it. We'll get those to our speaker. Feel free to DM us and we'll get you an answer back in a timely manner. It is Friday, so we are about to enter a weekend. I feel like the days are just kind of, we blink and they're gone. I say this all the time, but it's crazy how fast it's moving. We will be back here on Monday, and on Monday we'll have with us Mayor Atchison at 11 a.m. So if you are interested in city issues and have questions specifically for a city, please come back with us on Monday at 11. But thank you for taking the time out of of your day to tune in and hear more about Front Range Community College, the efforts that they've put into place, and what looks to be ahead. I feel like we'll likely re-engage them at some point a few months down the road to really see how it all unfolded and what the results were. But I also want to thank both of our speakers. Andy, thank you so much for hopping on with us, and Kathy as well for especially nudging Andy to answer back. No, both of you are terrific, and I thoroughly enjoy the relationship that we have, and I look for the opportunity to continue to build on that. So have a terrific weekend to everyone that's tuned in and to both of our speakers. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.